again, how and why did you choose this career? How's been the video?
As far as going into agriculture?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. My dad worked in agriculture. Okay.
Okay.
He worked at a produce plant, and he was in charge of seeing the product come from the field to go to the processing plant. And so as a kid growing up, probably started in 6th grade, I got to visit and go to the plant and see my dad work. So I got to see a little bit of what agriculture was all about. Obviously, it was on the product side, not actually on the farming side of it. So when the product comes in, it gets processed, and what we see now in the market of bag lettuces and bag spinach and all of those things. So probably, well, more so than anything because of my dad.
Okay. Typically, what happens in a day's worth of work?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, right now, I'm the general manager for Keithley Williams for the division in Mexico. So we have 4 offices in Mexico, and we have 2 offices in the U.S. that are my responsibility. I have 16 salesmen that I'm in charge of, 13 in Mexico and 3 in the U.S., in Texas. So, I mean, throughout the day, we're talking about availability of seeds, selling to farmers, checking productions with our suppliers. When will the seed come in? When will it be ready for sale? So in a day's work, you're talking about a lot of things, from finding seeds to sell to the farmer that they're looking for, to when are they going to get planted, and then maybe when they're going to get harvested. So as far as my position goes, I deal with a lot of different aspects, even from credit. You know, when I'm going to sell somebody, do they have credit, creditability for me to sell them, you know? I have to set a credit limit. We have to do all those type of things.
So it's a lot of management because you're in control of the 3 guys in Texas and the 13 in Mexico and
Correct.
Also the 4 offices.
Yeah, there's 4 in Mexico and 2 in U.S. So there's 6 total.
Okay.
So yeah, this position right now is a lot of administration, management.
Okay.
If I was selling, like a salesman here in Yuma, I'd be working with a lot of growers. When I used to sell here in Yuma, I had 50 growers throughout western Arizona. And then throughout the year, you're calling on them. You're putting trials in, which means you're putting new varieties of whatever species, cantaloupe, lettuce, watermelons. You're showing them new products with possibly better yields, better flavor, more disease resistance. So it depends on the position you're in. The position I'm in right now is more admin and management is what it is.
What are the most and least rewarding aspects of your job?
I think, rewarding is, more than anything, is when you hire somebody like a new salesperson, is teaching them the business, and then teaching them so they understand the importance of selling product to a farmer and understanding what the needs to the farmer are. So if the farmer says, hey, I need a new watermelon that has a disease resistance, it's going out and trying to find that product to supply a need. And then obviously the rewards in that is you're making a sale, for the company, making a profit, and so forth. One of the tough parts about being in the seed business is having production of seeds. You have to have seed, obviously, to sell. If the production fails out in the field, when you're producing the seed, if you have a crop failure, you're not going to have any seed to sell. So it makes it tough. So that's one of the least rewarding, is when we don't have seed, to be able to sell to the farmer so that he can plant the varieties he needs throughout the season.
Has that ever happened, not having any seeds?
Oh yeah, it happens a lot because we don't produce seed, but our suppliers do. So if you've ever heard of companies like Bayer, Monsanto, companies like that, they produce seeds, and they produce them all over the world, from Argentina, Chile, Peru, the U.S. So they produce them all over parts of the world. So what affects crop productions? Weather. If you have a hurricane come through, or a typhoon, or severe rain, hail will do it. I mean, you know what hail's all about. I mean, it'll shred a field, So yeah, crop productions or seed productions are very difficult because a lot has to do with weather. And if you have a really bad weather front come in, I mean, it could devastate your crop. And so, yeah, we deal with seed shortages all the time.
What are the working conditions like? Like the stress, the physical comfort, travel, environment, relocation, hours, routine?
Well, I think it's a real general question. Okay,
Yeah.
So in my position, I travel a lot because obviously I'm in charge of 16 sales guys. So I try to see all 16 sales guys once, at least in the year. Some guys I see more than once, maybe I see them twice, but I try to see every area, once at least in the year, and spend a week with them. So if you consider that, that's 16 weeks out of the 52 weeks in a year, right? So, and then you could probably add another, I don't know, depending on the year, maybe another 10 more visits to other areas. So, I mean, out of the 52 weeks in a year, I may be gone half the year, okay, on a good year. And that's because I'm in a management level, okay? If you're a sales guy, managing a territory, depending on how big the territory, you might be gone, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks out of the year, you know? So it depends on the level of where you're at in a company. Travel is almost a given nowadays. You have to go see different areas, learn about different cultures. Mexico is obviously a whole different country. Last year I got to go to Italy and Israel last year. And if you look at Israel, Israel is a country that's very, very similar to ours, desert region. And if you go look at the technology, we have the same technology here as far as drip systems, for your crop productions, but they're completely 100%. If you notice here, we're still using water from the river and furrow irrigating our fields, in between the beds. And in Israel, you can't do that because they just don't have enough water. So they have to conserve. So everything is under drip systems. And I think sooner or later, parts of the world and parts of the U.S. will have to be more dependent on drip systems. So it's about conserving water. Water's a huge, huge resource, across the world. Amount of stress, well, yeah, there's stress in any job, And I think the more you take on, the more you're going to have as far as stress. How do you manage stress? You spend time with your family, you do extracurricular activities, you do all those type of things when you can. My hours are basically, can fluctuate, depending on the season. When it's season, it's peak season, you're working. Farmers are planting, farmers need seed. When they put the order in, when are we going to get it? When are we going to deliver it? Your hours can fluctuate depending on the year. Like right now, we're in December. Once Christmas hits, it's going to really slow down because a lot of people take time off. New Year's, they take time off. But come January 1st, we're going to be rocking and rolling again. So it depends on the season, It's more of a seasonal thing, really. Some crops come in, they harvest, then you start another one, and then you might go through another region. So it kind of fluctuates. I'm not sure what else was on your question there, as far as maybe if I missed something.
That should cover it. Yeah. Education requirements?
Right now, I as a manager, most of the time I look at college graduates, okay? If you have your bachelor's, that's like getting you in the door, okay? It's not guaranteeing you a job, but it shows me as an employee or as an employer that you started something and finished it. So for I think any employer, it's important that I look at the individual for who he or she is and say, this person started and they finished in 4 years, 5 years. Some people finish in 7 years. Maybe they had to work through all those 7 years, There's different things for different occasions or for different people. I think education is important. I know it costs a lot nowadays. I remember what it cost for me. If you think about all the rent I paid in Tucson, I could have probably bought that place twice over, But that's just part of going to college or university, But for me, it's really important. I think I tell my 2 daughters, hey, you need to start thinking about it because it gets you in the door. It shows me as an employer, when I'm looking at a resume, this person finished in 4 years. I'm going to give them an opportunity. They might not have any experience whatsoever, but they've got an attitude. They've got a good attitude. They've got a good work ethic, and they're educated. What more would I want than a person like that? I can teach you, or I can teach somebody the seed business, but they got to have the right attitude. So education's important, without a doubt. I have some people that don't have a 4-year degree, but they have a lot of years of experience, and sometimes that years of experience can replace that education. But as you guys are in high school, I would highly recommend you guys go to the university or pick up some kind of trade. Find something you like. you know, and it's important that you like it because you're gonna be doing it for a long time. You know, I've been here for 18 years. I wouldn't be here if I really didn't like it, you know. So I really enjoy what I do. It's a different style than when I started, but, or different job responsibility, but I enjoy the seed business. So yeah, education's very important. Experiences, doing internships, you know, for high school kids that are coming, and hey, I don't have anything to do in the summer, go into a seed company saying, hey, I'm interested in doing an internship. We probably can do stuff like that. And I think other companies can do that stuff too. They want to find people for the seed business. When you look at the seed business worldwide, which I have an opportunity to see, it's not a very big business as far as a lot of companies, you know. We know, you know, you get to meet a lot of people, but yeah, education's important in my book.
All right.
Definitely.
What are the most important skills and abilities required for this job?
What are the what, I'm sorry?
Skills and abilities required.
Well, I think something you have to try to have is being able to multitask. You know, you might have 10 things that you're working on in a day. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to check all those 10 things off, you know. You got to keep an open mind and expect change. You know, change happens every day. And you have to learn how to manage that change. If you don't, we're gonna struggle, or we're gonna have a tough time. You know, and it's how you accept change and how you deal with change. If you can deal with it and manage it, you shouldn't have any problem. But multitasking is really important, at least in this business, because you may have 10 growers call you throughout the day looking for seed, and they're all waiting for you to give them a response back. You know, yes, it's available, no, it's not available, it is available, and this is when I'll have it. Is it treated, untreated seed? Is it for organic, non-organic? You know, but multitasking and understanding, prioritizing, you know, whose order, if you get 10 orders and the guy says, I need my seed tomorrow, obviously you're gonna prioritize that first, right? And then the other guy, the guy that needs it in a week, you have a little bit of time. You still wanna follow up, but you gotta prioritize and multitask what you have throughout the day and throughout the week. A lot of us have a day planner that we sit there and write things in, prioritize those things, and then work off of that, you know, because what you do today, you might not remember a week from now or 2 weeks from now. You know, you want to follow up, especially with customers. When you're in the sales business, follow up is everything. You know, if you give somebody an order, you expect them that, hey, they're going to follow up. You know, so I think those are some skills that I think everyone needs. We're not all blessed with them. You know, we all have to work hard at them, but it's some skills that you definitely, at least in the seed business, you know, reputation is everything. If people see that you follow up and you care and you're showing your best interest for them, I think you can do well. You know, so those are some skills I think that people need.
Okay. What high school and college courses have you found to be most applicable for your occupation?
Well, let's see. High school, you know, at high school I really didn't know I was going to be an ag major. I wanted to go in automotive engineering, okay? So obviously in high school you're thinking about math classes. Agriculture, now that I look back on it, chemistry, which I really never cared for, was important. You know, when I got to Arizona, I was probably one class away from having a minor in chemistry. So I was a plant science major over at Arizona. So you take a lot of chemistry, a lot of plant science classes, you know, entomology, I mean, learning about plant life, seed productions, breeding of plants, you know, finding new traits, new varieties, that type of thing. So, you know, I think in high school you kind of go through, at least for me, in high school, I got to go through the general education classes, get your GPA up, try to get you into a university. But I think once you get to college, that's where you're going to really figure out what you want to specialize in. You know, our rule, I remember when I got to Arizona, was the first 2 years is learning, getting your general education classes, and then trying to figure out what your last 2 years, your junior or senior year, were going to be about, so that you could graduate in 4 years, and what major you wanted to follow. Some people go in their freshman year and know they're gonna go into agriculture, they're gonna be a lawyer, or they're gonna go into medicine, or whatever it may be.
Would you choose this career if you could make the decision again? If not, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, you know, ever since I got started in the seed business back in 88, 1988, I got into the seed business with a company out of Holland, that was here in Yuma. And that's basically where I got my start. It was a salesman, and I was working for a company called Royal Sluice, and they only had a salesman and he had a secretary. And he needed a warehouse / product development / maintenance guy or warehouse guy, you know. I mean, so I was doing like 3 different jobs for him. So that's where I got my start. You know, would I change anything? No. I mean, I wouldn't have picked a different school. I had good counseling at Arizona. You know, so I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. I mean, if I look back now, would there have been another career I probably would have liked? No, I don't. I mean, I don't know how many people can say that they've been at one company for 18 years in this day and age, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that says a lot of how much I like the business, you know? So, no, I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't. So.
What do you wish you knew but didn't when you first contemplated this career?
You know what, back then, I didn't realize, because I do Mexico, I work Mexico right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize the magnitude of how strong Mexico is with protected culture. Do you guys know what protected culture is? That's when you have different, and there's different degrees of protected culture. There's low tech, medium, high tech of protected culture, which is like a greenhouse or shade house. Okay, so where they grow cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers in this protected culture. And more than anything, you do that in a shade house because you can control somewhat a little bit of weather, okay? You can control diseases better, insects better, and then something that we all live in is, you know, people want to control or be able to maintain good food safety, you know? So I think if I would have known back then what I know right now is how big Mexico is in protected culture, we probably could have started in Mexico a whole lot sooner as far as going towards that business. Mm-hmm. And right now, we've grown with it. If I would have known back then what I know now, I would have been totally focused on protected culture, because Mexico, in my opinion, is going to be like Spain. And if you go on the internet and you go to a city called Almeria, 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 and you take a satellite shot of it, it's nothing but greenhouses. And those are probably high-tech greenhouses where they can control air conditioning, heating. There might be hydroponics. I mean, they're dual glass. I mean, so those are high-tech, and then there's low-tech, and then there's medium, obviously, as well. But that's the one thing that I notice right now of where our business is going indoor for productions of vegetables indoor. That's really big right now.
Do you think that might expand to Asia?
You know, I'm not sure if Asia, I'm not real familiar with the Asia business right now, but I think from Mexico, if you look at Mexico right now where it's at, I'm in the project right now, or the process of hiring another salesman in Puebla, Mexico, and it's southeast of Mexico City, and he's going to cover South Mexico, which is the Yucatan. And once I put a salesman there, he'll focus on that area, and then you start thinking about Central America and South America, and there's businesses already thinking, or companies, farmers, growers that are already looking at what possibilities are there to go even more now with protected in those areas as well. Food safety is huge. You know, you want to eat clean, good produced vegetables, obviously. So, you know, that's something that's important. But I don't know if it'll get to Asia. I don't know. But at least in Central and South America, there's already some people that are already processing that and looking into that more and more every year. Mexico's huge. It's already gotten big. You know, I think in my estimation, it could probably be 25,000 hectares, which, you know, could be easily about 60,000 acres, you know, throughout all of Mexico, just growing vegetables in protected culture. So.
Okay. What are the best opportunities for someone else entering your career?
You know what? There's a lot of opportunity. Seed companies are always looking for young people that want to get into the seed business. Seed business, like I said, is when you look at it, it's not a big industry. It's an important industry. And right now, in this economy that we've been in, let's say the last 5 years, we've actually been able to grow. When I took Mexico, we had 7 salespeople. And right now, after 8 years of doing Mexico, we're at 16. So we've had a lot of growth. There's opportunity in the seed business, a lot of opportunity. You want to be able to want to go into that business if that's what interests you. But there's opportunities, definitely opportunities, and there's opportunities all over the world. Really, it's just a matter of whether you want to move or not. To Europe or Asia or Mexico, or stay in the U.S. or whatever it is, but there's plenty of opportunities, definitely.
Okay. Are there any trends, such as like social or legal, that concern you with your job? Any that would make it more or less attractive in the future?
Well, I think, a lot of people talk about GMOs, and their concerns about that, that companies are changing varieties or our vegetables, and if there might be some concerns as far as if they're safe to eat or not. That's a topic you're going to be talking about for the rest, I don't know for how long. It's always going to be a topic of discussion. I think it just depends on what side of the fence you're on. I know people that strictly eat nothing but organics, and then I have some people that say, well, I'll give you an example, I don't buy any produce from Mexico. And I'm like, okay, well, they may tell me that, and I'm like, okay, well, do you go out to eat to the restaurants? Well, of course I do. Okay, well, where do you think we're getting some of those vegetables from? We're getting them from Mexico. So you may say something that you strongly believe in, but then you may not know the other outer things that you might not control. Like when we're off season here, we're getting all our tomatoes from Mexico right now. Central California doesn't have any tomatoes. We're in dead winter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going to grow tomatoes right now? Summer up in Central California we'll get tomatoes, but right now all our tomatoes are coming in from Mexico predominantly. So when people say, I don't buy any produce from Mexico, I think it's kind of interesting because that's what they believe. But if you go out to eat, I guarantee you, these restaurants that we eat at, they're going to be buying produce at, the Sam's or Costco's or wherever, or big shippers, and they're going to be buying produce from Mex. So